Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This is Property Management 101, and for today's video, I'm going to be discussing if you're starting a property management company to help determine what you should be charging. Now, this is really hard to provide an exact number that you should be charging without knowing the asset you're going to be working with, the market you're going to be working in, the state you're working in, your company strategy. But regardless of all those unknowns, here are 4 steps that I would recommend taking to help determine how much you should be charging. The first step that you want to take is you really want to conduct your own market research. You really want to see who's charging what and am I competitive with those numbers as far as how do I make this work to make it profitable for me. Now, collecting this information is going to be much easier from the single family side than it is the multifamily side. You may be able to pull what some other single family management companies are charging based off maybe just what they provide on their website or by contacting their business development manager. But for the multifamily side, this is going to be a little bit more tricky to determine what are some companies in your area charging. One way that I would recommend collecting this information for bigger multifamily sites is by going to some local investment groups. You may be able to discuss with other investors in your local area what they're being charged for larger management companies as far as what they're being charged for management fees. This is a great way to find this out for your local area. The second thing that you're going to want to do to help determine how much you're going to charge is evaluate and review your state guidelines. Now, most states don't have really a lot of regulation when it comes to what you can charge an ownership group and investment group. It's really about what you two agree on. But there are a lot of regulations as far as what you can charge residents and applicants. Now, one common thing that I've seen in many states is the regulation of how much you can charge for a late fee, for example. Depending on the amount that you're regulated by your state, may determine as far as who's receiving what for each individual fee. The percentage of the fee that ownership's going to receive or the percentage of the fee that the property management company receives. And this really leads to my third step that you need to determine as far as how much you're going to charge. But before we get to that third step, if you're enjoying this video and learning something new, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for future videos. The third step that you need to figure out before knowing how much to charge is determine your splits. Now, what I mean as far as determining your splits, I mean when you collect a fee from a resident or prospect, is ownership going to receive that fee? Or is the landlord or property management company going to receive that fee? Or is it going to be split? If so, what are the percentage that each party is receiving? For example, I see a lot of fees on the single family management side that are split rather than all will be retained by ownership or all will be retained by the property management company. I think this is a good practice because even though a fee, for example, I'll give like late fee may be something that, hey, because the resident's paying late, the owner's actually late on their mortgage, they're getting hit with a fee on that side as well. So, but you also want to make the property management company incentivize by collecting and charging a fee that they're receiving a portion of that as well. So it's not easy for a property management company to simply agree to waiving a late fee, which may encourage them charging less, which may encourage the ownership getting less. So I always am a big believer that the property management company should at least get a portion of any late fees, for example, to help encourage them, incentivize them to charge and collect these. And the last thing you need to determine for determining how much you're going to charge your owners is determining the percentage of rent you're going to collect for a management fee. Now, typically on the single family side, I see this range in most states between 8 and 12% of rent. And I typically see on the multifamily side anywhere from 3 to 6% of rent. Now, one thing to note though, a lot of times if you have a multifamily property, let's say for example 30 units, and there's no on-site staff, so no maintenance staff works full-time at that property, no leasing or office staff work full-time at that property, then that property will typically be more on the fee structure of a single-family home rather than a bigger, larger multifamily property that has on-site staff. So that's something to keep in mind, investors, that if you're looking to determine what I'm going to be charged for a management company and I have a property that's not going to have on-site staff, you're probably more likely to look at fees that are going to be similar to a single family company than that you are from a larger multifamily company. Now, on the single family side, that percentage range that I talked about earlier, between 8 to 12%, is usually determined by how many fees are going to be included in your management fee or not. So for example, if you have a management company that in their management agreement have a lot of fees included in their in their management percent, then a lot of times that number may be closer to 12%. But if you do not have a lot of fees that are included in your services, then you may be closer to that 8% number. I typically see a portion of fees being a la carte and separate, and that's why I typically see 10% meeting in the middle, the most common number I see for a property management company to charge. Now, another thing to keep in mind when it comes to percentage of rent is you need to determine and include in your management agreement is it can be the percentage of rent that's scheduled rent or percentage of rent of collected rent. Typically on the multifamily side, it's almost always collected rent. But I have seen scenarios on the single family side where it's based off of collected rent or scheduled rent. Now, if you're basing your management fee off your collected rent, that it is something that you want to make sure that you actually have a monthly management minimum that you can charge your owners if rent is not collected, for example, that month, or if it's the property's vacated. And this is something you want to determine as well and include in your management agreement as well, as far as what is that monthly minimum if rent's not collected that month or if the property is vacant. I have seen some companies charge a flat fee when it comes to the amount of money they're charging any owners when it comes to that monthly management agreement. But this is a couple things that I would recommend if you're considering charging a flat fee. Number one, what is going to incentivize you as a property management company to charge and offer higher rents? It may be something as an investor you got to think about, well, I like the flat fee from a budget standpoint and a forecasting standpoint, but I do want my management company to be incentivized to charge more money for more rent, which will in turn be a win-win for both them and I. Something to think about when you're looking at management companies from that perspective as well. And to recap everything we talked about in today's video, number one, you really want to make sure you're performing your own market research to stay competitive within your market about what you're going to charge your owners. Number two, you want to do research to make sure you know the state guidelines when it comes to all fees that are owner related or resident or applicant related. The third thing you need to determine is determine your splits. Who's getting what percentage of each fee each party's collecting and receiving. And last but not least, you really want to determine the percentage of rent you're going to collect as a management fee. I hope you found this information helpful today and learned something new. If so, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for future videos. And if you haven't done so already, please watch our disclosure video as well as my Why I Do This video, as well connect with our LinkedIn and Instagram account for industry news, polls, and video releases. If you have any questions about this video or any of my videos, feel free to leave a comment. I'll be happy to address it for you. Happy leasing.